And I'm glad that you decided to brave the elements. There's a threat of freezing drizzle at 4 in the morning, and so some decided to stay in this evening because of the danger that it poses. Amen. And I'd hate for somebody to get out now and slip on ice that's not here yet. If you have your Bibles, turn to the book of Philippians. Book of Philippians. I tell you what, it would do us all well to have the confidence of Adam back there. Where'd Adam go? Is he in here? Did he run amok? Oh, man, he came up to me a little bit ago. He said, got a haircut. I said, Adam, you're going to need to be careful. You're going to have to beat the girls off with the stick. And he said, I do. Oh, man. Philippians chapter 4. I told you this morning what subject I'd be talking about is tackle this problem first, is what we'll call it. And I'm gearing it mainly towards marriage, but this is true in any part of your life, okay, right here. If you can tackle this problem first, then the others, not that any of your problems will ever be easy, but if you can tackle this one first, it kind of sets you up to be able to tackle the other ones a little better. Where did I tell y'all to turn? Okay, that's where I need to turn. I was just wanting to remember. So let's look in Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. Finally, let me put on this traveling mic while I'm reading this. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. Think on these things. And if you'll notice in that list, there's not a negative thing there. Now, it's our human nature to dwell on the negative. Has anybody worried about something today? Anybody here be honest and worried? Yeah, several have worried about something. Has anybody just held a grudge against somebody today? Anybody done that? And yeah, okay. Anybody just fretted over things today? Maybe. No. Yeah. Okay. I did. Man, I was angry earlier. I tell you, and I about caused some damage around here. I was angry because I was trying to get something to print from my computer to the copy machine. And look, I realized this close to pouring gasoline on it, striking a match, walking out, shutting the door, and then saying, "Oh, what happened?" So yeah, I know what it's like. We tend to focus on the negative, right? If on this wall right here, there was one black spot that big, the first thing many of us would see, we'd come and say, "Wow, there's a black spot on that wall. Would you look at that? They ought to do something about that." Attitude is what I want to talk to you tonight about. J. Sidlow Baxter said this: what is the difference between an obstacle and an opportunity? Our attitude toward it. Every opportunity has a difficulty, and every difficulty has an opportunity. This thing of having the right attitude, dwelling on those things that to produce the right attitude, listen, it is critical not only in marriage, but in every part of life. I'll give you, for instance, I coached some high school basketball, and it was a small Christian school. I mean, listen, our school was so small that on our varsity team, okay, we had varsity and JV, but our JV was 5th grade through 8th grade. Our varsity was 5th grade through 12th grade. All right, I'd let the JV guys play up with the varsity too, and just for experience. And so we had a very small team, small in numbers, small relatively in size, although once in a while we had a kind of big guy. Our practice, our court, our basketball court was the parking lot. That's where we practiced. We ran suicides. Okay, you run from the grass to this parking space, then back in this parking space, and back. We had a lot of parking spaces too, and we'd run there. We'd do them layups on that goal right there in the parking lot. Brave the elements. When it rained outside and we couldn't get on the parking lot because the court was wet, I'd keep them in the breezeways, and we had practiced dribbling and passing in the breezeways. So we didn't have a lot. Every once in a while, I would hear one of the guys say this when we would go to another school, a bigger school. And we'd walk in, and you could tell this was a bigger Christian school. And I mean, they had a beautiful gym. The gym was packed. The place is hopping. They come out in their nice uniforms. Ours were, they got to be pretty nice, but in the beginning, just the very back, like practice uniforms. And we'd come out, and man, it was something. They were so well organized. We were just developing a team. Once in a while, I'd hear a guy say this, man, we've already lost this game. And I'd get so mad. Oh, my God. Anybody here ever coached before? Did it make you mad when you hear a guy say that? Oh, man, I couldn't stand it. And I'd say, what? I said, we done lost this game. I said, yeah, you have. You have. You just sit on the bench. You got that attitude. You just need to sit on the bench. You don't even need to play. You done lost this game. Get the right out, man. Oh, it would just infuriate me. And I tell you what, when they went into it with that attitude, even against teams that I knew we got a chance at beating this team, we didn't have a prayer at that point. Once in a while, there's one game in particular, a large Christian school. We invited them to come play us. We, this time, had a gym, and we weren't just practicing on the parking lot. We had our own gym, didn't have to rent one. And they came in, and this was a large school. They were undefeated. They were looking to win the state championship, possibly, in that level of Christian school, their level of Christian school, which is a big school. And they came in, and I don't know why, but our guys had this attitude, we're going to win this one. And I'd say, that's right. And on the inside, I was thinking, I don't think so. This is going to be a struggle right here. Our guys went out there with the attitude of, we can win this. And listen, this particular team I had this year was not a talented team. I mean, they were not talented at all. No natural talent. Any talent they had came from hard work. And they went out there and they played so hard that the other team couldn't believe we were winning. Now, we're just barely winning. We played so hard that team who had brought, it looked like a bus load of fans to our gym. And our gym is packed out, people standing around the walls, and it's going crazy. The other team's fans started cheering for us. I mean, they were playing hard. We played way above our heads. You know what made the difference? Their attitude. They had the right attitude. Attitude is a tremendous asset. One person said this, the most remarkable thing about life is that we can choose our attitude every day of the year. We cannot change our past, nor can we change the fact that people will act in a certain way. We also cannot change the inevitable. The only thing we can do is play on the one string we have, and that is our attitude. A friend of mine who's a pastor and a counselor, does a lot of marriage counseling, one of the things I've heard him say more than anything else is probably this: nothing is broken that cannot be fixed if both people want it fixed. The attitude. Happy couples, listen, we get this idea, well, we see a couple that's happy and everything seems to be going good and they have it made in the shade, they have their act all together. Now let me tell you right off the bat, they don't. Okay? Nobody's perfect. Everybody has their weaknesses. And we think that happy couples have a certain set of circumstances, but they don't. They have a certain set of attitudes. It's tempting, isn't it, to complain about our spouse or our circumstances when they're not what we want them to be. But that only makes matters worse. How many of you ever, by complaining, made things better? Nobody? Come on, there's got to be at least somebody that complained and made it better. Never once have I sat down to eat a steak that was burnt black and hard as a rock, started chewing on it and said, well, this steak stinks, and all of a sudden it was a good steak. Okay? No, complaining never makes it better. When complaining about our spouse, complaining about our circumstances, it doesn't make it better. A man named Viktor Frankl, he was a survivor of the Nazi concentration camp, and in spite of his harsh treatment, listen to his words. The one thing you cannot take away from me is the way I choose to respond to what you do to me. The last of one's freedoms is to choose one's attitude in any given circumstance. Man, that's powerful words. Say, preacher, you just don't understand what I'm going through, and I may not. So let me ask you, are you going through something as bad as Viktor Frankl went through, who was in a Nazi prison camp, watching his friends and relatives escorted to the gas chamber and killed? And yet, in the midst of that hardship, something that's beyond my mind. And listen, I've had troubles, and my troubles were heavy, burdens to carry for me. But I can't imagine if I was in these shoes. And yet he said, look, there's one thing you can't take away from me, and that's how I choose to respond to whatever it is you do to me. In light of no one being able to take away our freedom to choose our attitude, we see then that misery is an option, even in marriage. Preacher, I'm going through this tough time, and listen, young people, some of you aren't married yet. This will help you a lot if you get a hold of it. So what can a good attitude do? Look in Job chapter 7. Job chapter 7. Job had it tough, didn't he? In a matter of moments, Job had lost everything. He had lost his children. He had lost all his wealth. His wife said, curse God and die. His friends came and accused him of sin. He lost his health. He's in bad straits here. Look at what Job says in chapter 7 and verse number 6. My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle and are spent without hope. And that's pretty sad, isn't it? Job's at a spot right here where he says that there's no hope. There's no hope this is ever going to get better. There's no hope that we'll be able to overcome this. There's no hope that I'll be able to get past this. Look in Job chapter 14. Verses 7 through 9. And Job says this about hope. He says, for there is hope of a tree if it be cut down, that it will sprout again, and that the tender branch thereof will not cease. Though the root thereof wax old in the earth, and the stock thereof die in the ground, yet through the scent of water it will bud and bring forth boughs like a plant. The right attitude, it gives hope. Job said, look, if you cut down a tree and its stalk is in the ground, old and rotten, but there's a little bit of root left, even at the scent of water, there's still hope for some growth on that tree. In Acts chapter 2, turn over to Acts chapter 2, if you would, please. Acts chapter 2, verses 25 through 27. For David speaketh concerning him, I foresaw the Lord always before my face, for he is on my right hand, that I should not be moved. Therefore did my heart rejoice, and my tongue was glad. Moreover also my flesh shall rest in hope. Because thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thine Holy One to see corruption. David said, my hope is in God. Job, who had said, look, there's no hope here, and even a tree that's been cut down has hope. Finally, we see him later saying this, I know that my Redeemer liveth. And he goes on to say that once my body is dead in the ground and consumed with worms, I know this, I'm going to stand before my Creator. Job developed some hope. He took his eyes off of his problems, and he began to turn his eyes on the one who can solve those problems. You know, it's no accident that some couples seem to take all life hands to them in stride. They rise above the heartaches, while others who have had similar disadvantages are dominated by their feelings of blame and resentment. Well, what's the difference? You can get two that go through the same circumstances, and one couple seems to rise above it, and one couple seems to sink beneath it. You get two people going through the same circumstances, and one of those people will rise above it, and one of them will sink beneath it. Many of us live by Murphy's Law, don't we? Here's Murphy's Law. Nothing is as easy as it looks. Everything takes longer than you expect. And if anything can go wrong, it will, and at the worst possible moment. Wow, that's my life. The counter to Murphy's Law is this: nothing is as hard as it looks. Everything is more rewarding than you expect. And if anything can go right, it will, and at the best possible moment. Too many of us live by Murphy's Law. You ever watch Winnie the Pooh? The ladies are yes, and the men are like, I ain't admitting it. You know who many of us are? You know, some people just seem to be like Tigger, don't they? They're bouncing around. I did not even know that was going to be able to come out. I feel less masculine at the moment. They're so on top of things. You ever met anybody this way? They're so on top of things and so happy they make you mad. And you just want to say, shut up before I punch you in the face. Many of us are more like Eeyore. Oh, worry. Everything that comes along. Oh, worry. Here's Tigger jumping all around, springing on his tail. Hoo, 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 hoo. And a little more masculine saying it that way. And here's Eeyore. Oh, worry. You know that we find what it is we're looking for? Remember that verse that we read in Philippians? I've already turned away from Philippians 4:8. Finally, brother, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, if there be any praise, think on these things. If you think on those things, let me tell you, that's what you're going to find. But if we're always thinking on the negative and we're always looking at the blemish, we're always looking at the problem, always looking at the fault, then guess what? That's exactly what we're going to find. There was an experiment done in the San Francisco Bay School area. They got several teachers and they got a bunch of the students and they said, all right, this year we have chosen three of our best teachers in the school system. And we have chosen some of our brightest, most capable students to fill the classrooms of those teachers. And they announced the teachers, and the teachers were like, wow, we are the best in the whole school system. And the kids were announced, and the kids were like, wow, we're the smartest, we're the brightest, we're the most capable, most able in the school system. And all that year, those teachers were paired with those students, and at the end of the year, those students showed more improvement and gained more ground than any of the rest of the students in the whole school system there. The teachers, they were elated. Yeah, look, we are the best teachers, aren't we? And the students, yeah, we are the brightest students. And then the principal of that school, that particular school, came to him and said, listen, I have a confession to make. We chose you, but you're not the best teachers in the school system. And the students were not the brightest students in the school system. It was all an experiment. Those teachers and those students went into it with this attitude of, we can do this. These others think we can. We've been given this opportunity. We can overcome. We can learn. And you know what? Because they thought they could, they did. Just like that team that was probably one of the least talented teams I ever coached, but ended up winning more games than any of the other teams I coached, though some of the other teams were more talented. They went into it. They had worked hard, man. They had sweat. They had bled. I remember one particular time we were as near the end of practice, we were scrimmaging, and there was a loose ball, and it went rolling, and old Brendan Hunt, this teenager in our group, Brendan was not the most talented guy on the court. He was not the quickest, but man, he was a hard worker. Brendan went running for that ball, and as he tried to save it from going out of bounds, he lost his foot and he stumbled recklessly, and he ran into the sheetrock wall. It was 3/4 inch sheetrock, and it was steel beams going down the wall, not wood. And man, it just caved the wall in. I mean, it just pushed the sheetrock in. And he bounces back, and he lays on the court. I mean, he hit it hard. And all of us went running, and we passed him, and we went to the wall and said, wow, would you look at that? And he's over there, oh, and his mama saying, hello, is my son okay? Those guys went into it with this mindset, we can do it, and they did. Our perception of how we view a particular situation is always the result of our attitude. And once we have a particular mindset, we see everything and everybody in a certain way, either more positively or more negatively, even if our perception is not accurate. You know, if you think your spouse is lazy, you're going to find all kinds of evidence that they are. You'll look for it. If you think your spouse is unfaithful, you'll find all kinds of evidence that they are, even if they're not. Whatever it is, that negative that you're focusing on, once we focus on that, rather than focusing on the things that are honest, pure, lovely, we focus on those things, guess what? That's all we're going to see. Some miserable people find a problem in every solution. You ever met someone like that? That every solution you come up with, they know the problem to it. And you may say, well, then what is the solution? I don't know. That's your job. But there's a problem in every solution. I've met with many couples and would say either to the husband or the wife, well, look, what do you think about this? Have you tried this? Try to do this, and let's try to change this. And they say, oh, yeah, but that won't work. Well, why not? Well, I just know them. I just know her. I just know him. I know how they think. I know what they do. That's not going to work. Okay, well, how about this? What if we try this? What if we concentrate on this here? And oh, no, that's not going to work. That's not going to change things. Well, what do you suggest? Well, I guess I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. That's why you're here. Some miserable people find a problem in every solution. Their common words are, well, yes, but. The negative attitude always defends its attitude as being realistic. But that's not what we find in the Word of God. Now, by the way, let me say, when I'm talking about thinking on the good things, that's not totally dismissing the problems. That's not what I'm talking about. The problems must be met head on. In a marriage, in any relationship, the problem must be met head on, but not with the attitude of, this is all going to fall apart. There's no way to overcome it. It's only going to get worse. When we go in with that attitude, one, that's unscriptural. Two, it's not going to do any good. You face it head on. You know, look, I'm a man. I don't like to play these emotional games. If there's a problem, if I've done something wrong, look, the future reference, just tell me. My wife, many times in the past, has said, now, because I really take words. I mean, words are very powerful and important to me, and she'll say to me, hey, can I tell you something and not hurt your feelings? My answer is always, probably not. It's probably going to hurt my feelings. But tell me anyways. I'll get over it. I'm a big boy. I wear big boy pants. Just tell me. It's not ignoring the problem. It's facing the problem and saying, you know what? Here is the problem. Not the matter of it's your problem, but this is our problem. By the way, once you're married, you're one flesh, right? Listen, young people, you're going to get married. All right? Josiah, you hope to get married one day? Don't hold your breath, brother. No, I'm kidding. You'll get married one day. You're going to get married one day. I want to tell you something. You're going to marry a girl, and she's going to be imperfect just like you are. And when you get married, you're marrying her imperfections as well as her perfections. She's marrying the same in you. And when you marry those things, now that baggage she's carrying, guess who else has to carry that baggage? You. But instead of facing it with this thing, oh, this is going to destroy us. No, look, we are one flesh. This is not good. This is a problem. we're going to overcome this problem together. By the way, that's in any relationship. So how do we change the attitude? Number one, do what the Bible says, Philippians 4:8. Look for the positive. It doesn't mean to totally dismiss the negative. That has to be dealt with. But at the same time, look for the problem. Look for the positive. You'll always find what you're looking for. Here's the second thing. Refuse to be a victim. Whatever situation, no matter how tough, you will gain nothing by being the victim. You gain nothing there. The problem is not your spouse's problem. It's your problem together. Look, even in a friendship, if there's a problem, it's not just your friend's problem, it's your problem together. In a working relationship, hey, look, it takes two to have that relationship. You say, well, that's this person's problem. Well, no, it's affecting you, so now it is your problem together. Acts 5:41. And they departed from the presence of the council, rejoicing that they were counted worthy to suffer shame for his name. Here's some disciples. They had been cast in prison. They had been beaten. They had been told, don't preach in the name of Christ anymore. When they're released, instead of going out and saying, man, they treated us bad. We were just trying to do good, and they threw us in jail, and they talked ugly to us, and they called us some ugly names, and they told us not to do this anymore. No, they came out, and they were like Tigger. Woo-hoo-hoo. Hey, this is great. We got to suffer for Christ. He suffered for us. We suffered for him, but we stood. They rejoiced in it. Self-pity is a luxury that no relationship, especially marriage, can afford. You get that? Self-pity is a luxury that no relationship, especially marriage, can afford. Hey, here's the next thing. Now, this is hard, okay? Give up the grudges. What's done in the past is past. I know that's easier said than done. You get a pocket knife and you cut me on the arm, that's going to hurt. And you may say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just lost my temper. I shouldn't have done that. A month may go by, and it may be healed up. But the next time I see you pull out a pocket knife even to cut a string, you know, I'm going to get away from you. Next time I'm walking and I bump that cut, oh, you know what? It's going to remind me of you. It takes a while. I understand that. But this grudge, this thing, I'm going to hold on to this. I'm not letting go of it. I'm not going to forgive you. I'm not going to get past it. And I understand, look, we're flesh. It's hard to let go of that and let God. And by the way, the thing of forgiveness, some will say forgive and forget. I've not learned yet how to forget. I wish I could forget. But you can forgive. And here's what it means to forgive. It just means this, basically, I'm not going to hold it over your head anymore. Galatians 6:2. Bear ye one another's burdens, and so fulfill the law of Christ. Bitterness, whatever the cause, will clog the veins of a positive attitude, and it's got to be expelled in order to give life to good thoughts. Bear ye one another's burdens. So fulfill the law of Christ. Christ, listen to what Christ did. When Christ came to earth and became sin for us, he entered into our messy imperfections with us. Lance, one day you're going to get married. You're going to marry some girl. She's going to marry you. And both of you have imperfections. You enter into those imperfections together just like Christ did when he came into this world. He didn't run from it. He didn't push us aside. He knew, okay, I'm getting ready to go down to that sin-cursed world. I'm going to dwell amongst their sinfulness. They're going to curse me. They're going to spit on me. They're going to scourge me. They're going to put a crown of thorns on my head. They're going to beat me. They're going to pluck the beard from my face. They're going to spit on me. They're going to hang me on a cross. They're going to mock me. They're going to kill me. They're going to take my life. That's okay, because I love them. Just as Christ entered into our messy imperfections, when we build that relationship of marriage, and young people, you get married, you build that relationship of marriage, you're entering into not just the bliss of that person, everything good you see about them, you're entering into their messy imperfections just as well. Here's the next thing. Give your marriage some grace. I know that's not always easy either, but when we're holding on to the grudge. When you come upon a difficulty in marriage, and it's always going to have, any people in here married that have never had any problems? None? Brother Jesse, you raised your hand. He's getting brownie points on what he's doing. Because he told me about some other things. No. If the changes are not as quick or as consistent as you would like, go easy on yourself. By the way, go easy on the other person. If changes are taking place, however slow they may be and inconsistent, just rejoice. Look, think on those things that are pure, lovely, and honest, and of a good report. Somebody will tell me, well, I'm coming along here a little bit. I'll be working with somebody, and they'll ask me to keep them accountable on a personal daily walk with Christ, and I'll ask them from time to time, so, hey, how's that walk with Christ? Well, it's not every day, but it's better than it was. It's like, hey, that's improvement. That's improvement. When an airplane travels toward a destination, did you know it's actually off course most of the time? The onboard computers are constantly correcting its path, bringing it back into alignment with the destination. That plane, we're just riding on, we think, oh yeah, it's dead zero, right where it's going. No, those computers are constantly, just like when you drive a car, constantly having to make adjustments. That's the same way it is in marriage, folks. There's always going to be adjustments having to be made. Now, the thing we're hoping we can do is make the adjustments without running into this guardrail and then running into this guardrail, then running off down in the ditch and running back up. No, we're trying to keep it where we can make those slight adjustments. Walt Emerson said this: what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. Well, that's pretty powerful right there. And the one thing that we've got to tackle first, listen, whether it's in marriage or any other relationship, is this right here: attitude. Listen, you're a Sunday school teacher, your attitude is going to affect that classroom. Choir member, your attitude will affect the choir and your feelings of the choir. Your attitude about church, if you go in, boy, I just can't wait to get there. I want to get something from the preacher. Oh, God, give me something. Then listen, I could talk about dentures all day, and you would leave saying, boy, I got something. You know why? Because you came hungry. But if you go like this, oh, worry. All right, preacher, bless me if you can. You know what? There'll be nothing I can do for you. Because your perspective is out of whack. Listen, I've said before, Jesus places a huge value on the marriage relationship. It's a picture of either the grace of God or the fall of man. Your marriage is going to be a picture of one or the other. He places this huge importance on it, and the devil desires to tear it apart. If we'll get this one thing, this one problem first, it doesn't make everything else go away. Sure will enable us to get other things on the right track. Hey, if we can get this one thing, it'll keep you from running into the ditches. The corrections will be minor. Let me read that verse again in Philippians chapter 4. Finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. Let's pray. Father, thank you for loving us. You are an awesome God.